for the past 1 year, property prices has went up close to 11%. And although despite last year's cooling measures, I have actually made some predictions. You can check out the link in below to see what are my predictions, such as the increase of property prices due to an increase of demand. There are more foreigners entering the Singapore market, and there is also the increase of rental. And despite all this, although the cooling measure due to last year, the HDB market has not been cooled at all by the Singapore government. So therefore, if we look into the news that is out just yesterday on the 30th of September, 12:36 a.m. midnight, the government actually came in with more cooling measures, and these cooling measures are the one that is actually stopping the HDB property market. Hi, I'm James Lim, founder of the Property Plus system, and today I'll be sharing with you September 2022 new cooling measures by the Singapore government, where they want to tackle the increase of the HDB pricing and also the increase of the interest rate, and these will be the core factors that will be affecting the cooling measures of today's property market. Now, the situation right now is that there is still a record-breaking number of million-dollar HDBs, and despite the low transaction volumes of private property, the HDB market is still very hot, where there is still a lot of transactions. And actually, the million-dollar HDB market are actually bought by the private property sellers. So, private property sellers, they actually sell off your private property and they buy a million-dollar HDB, causing the price of HDB to go up. So this is one thing that the government is trying to control. And secondly, due to the interest rate by the US Fed, the government also want to control this amount that you can borrow. The Ministry of National Development, together with HDB, actually comes out with this proposal where they want to moderate demand and to ensure affordability of these HDBs. So the first changes or the first cooling measure is that the private property owners, excluding those that are above age 55, need to wait 15 months period before they can actually buy a resale HDB. Now, in the past, before 30th of September 2022, they actually do not need to wait so long. They actually can buy a HDB first, and they can actually dispose of your private property within 6 months of your HDB. Now, what the government is trying to do is actually to control this amount of million-dollar HDB, because these private property owners, which they make a lot of profit selling off their private property, wants to stay in a bigger place but yet do not want to move to a 4-room. Therefore, the government actually want to keep the HDB prices affordable, especially for first-time buyers. So, what the three parties that are actually not affected is that, number one, first-time HDB buyers. The second one is that people who actually sell their HDB and to move to another HDB. The third is seniors above age 55 who are downsizing to a 4-room or a 3-room HDB. Do take note, this does not apply to them if they are looking into a 5-room HDB. The second changes made from HDB loan is that if you want to take a loan from HDB itself, the LTV or loan to value ratio has actually decreased from 85 to 80%, which means you have to pay 20% cash/CPF, while the maximum you can take is 80%. However, if you want to take and you buy a property from HDB and you want to take a loan from the private bank, the changes of the LTV does not change at all. Now, secondly, the second changes is that due to the increase of the interest rate, HDB right now do a stress test of right now 3% for HLE loan eligibility. Now, this is actually to reduce the maximum amount of potential home buyers who can borrow from HDB and to encourage more prudent financing. Now, as for private property, the government seems to be relatively happy of how the market is heading. So, the only change is due to the interest rate or the rising interest rate due to the US Fed. And therefore, the government has some prudence. So, what the main changes is that from the TDSR, it has changed from the stress test of 3.5% all the way to 4%. What it means is that right now, if one day interest rate were to hit 4%, you have an assurance that 55% will be going to the financing the property, while you will be having 45% going back into your income for your daily expenses. So this is actually very good for Singaporeans, as it is something very prudent. Now, in short, what this changes is that for every $1,000 of income that you have, there will be an increase of 7,200 of lesser loan that you can actually take. Now, I've actually updated my Affordability Calculator app, and you can actually access it into the link below over here. Now, let us look at some example. So my assumption is that a couple intend to take a 75% loan, and their loan tenure is up to 30 years. So the interest rate right now has actually changes from 3.5 to 4% as a safety mark. But that is not the real interest rate. So let's look at some examples. So the first example you can see is that if a couple intends to has a combined income of 10,000, the initially your former property price that they can afford to buy is up to 1.63 million. But now, in fact, they will be able to only buy a 1.5 million, where it's a 96,000 drop. But if we see another couple that they have an income of 20,000, you will notice that they can actually afford 3.2 million in the past, and right now they can afford only 3 million. Therefore, there is close to a 200,000 drop. So what are my predictions? I predict that the demand on 3 and 4 room HDB will still be strong, and therefore the prices of 3 and 4 room HDB will still continue to go up. However, the demand for 5-room HDB will actually drop due to the private property owners no longer going to aim for these 5-room HDBs. Therefore, I expect there will be fewer million-dollar HDB in the news, and also the demand for 5-room HDB to actually drop. Now, this group of private property owners, when they sell their private property, they want to move somewhere. So since they can't move into a HDB itself, I believe that they are likely to enter into the resale private property market, and I do expect the transaction volume for resale private property to go up overall. So let's look at whether my predictions will be accurate within the next 6 months. I will get back to this video again. In the next, what I'm going to say is that I do not expect for the next 6 months to have any cooling measures unless there's a very drastic change in the Singapore property market, which I don't foresee, or the signs are actually not there, which I think everything is actually very, very stable right now. So the good news is that at least I can assure you that for the next 3 to 6 months, there won't be any changes in the cooling property market. A lot of people within the next 2 months, I believe they are going to have a wait and see approach, and people will come in back into the Singapore property market again at the beginning of year 2023. So this is my predictions overall. Now, if you like this video, please feel free to give a thumbs up button. If you have your own predictions, do write into the comment section below to let everyone take a look, and I will also comment on it to see whether I can find any evidence to support you. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up button, and please click on the subscribe and the notification button to get notified of future videos. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!